Ever thought about taking your brand, like, worldwide?
Mhm.
Not just, selling your stuff to different countries,
Right.
but really weaving your brand's story with another company's
Yeah.
across borders.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what we're diving into today, this
Yeah.
whole world of international brand partnerships.
Absolutely.
We're dissecting this book,
Mm.
Mastering International Brand Partnerships, Strategies for Success, that's what it's called.
Sachi.
Right.
Yeah.
So we're figuring out how to make those global collaborations really click.
Awesome.
So why even bother going beyond just, like, exporting your product?
Right.
The book jumps right into this, the why, and says it can totally change the game when it comes to growth.
It's true. Think about it, right? It's not just about getting your product in front of more people. It's about tapping into a whole network of new ideas, different kinds of expertise, resources you wouldn't have on your own.
Like, you're adding this whole other level to how you do business.
Exactly.
So obviously finding the right partner is, like, the key thing here.
Totally.
The book calls it identifying the right partners, which
It's like a business marriage.
it is. It's like finding your business soulmate.
100%.
What should we be looking for?
Okay, so first off, shared values. And I don't just mean like a vague sense of corporate social responsibility.
Yeah.
This has to be deep down, fundamental stuff you both believe in.
Okay.
You also want complementary strengths.
Right.
Like, you're each bringing something different to the table, but it all fits together.
Right.
And this book is really big on due diligence.
What does that mean?
Don't just take their word for it, basically.
Okay.
Research, talk to other people they've worked with, really dig deep.
Like a background check.
Exactly. But for business, because
Yeah.
this is serious stuff.
It is. And then there's this whole thing about building trust and having, goals you both agree on.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you can't underestimate that. That's huge.
The book talks about building trust and mutual goals, which,
Easier said than done sometimes, right?
oh, tell me about it. It's like trying to put together furniture with my partner if the instructions aren't clear.
Oh, it's a disaster.
Total chaos.
Yeah, you need that shared vision. But here's the thing. Culture plays a huge role.
Totally.
And this book dives into that in the section on, like, cultural awareness and adaptation, like how you communicate, how decisions are made.
Even what success means.
Can be completely different.
Yeah. What's a high-five moment in one culture could be a head-scratcher in another.
100%.
So how do you avoid those communication breakdowns, especially when it comes to contracts and all that?
Right, right.
Because the book talks about, like, negotiation and setting clear expectations.
Oh, yeah, that's where the rubber meets the road, right?
Yeah.
You got to be crystal clear about everything, what each party is responsible for, what happens if something goes wrong. Get it all in writing.
Get that legal team on
Yeah.
speed dial.
Honestly, and especially when you're dealing with different countries' laws and regulations, it's not the time to skimp on legal advice.
It's an investment,
Exactly.
not just a cost.
Right.
Okay, now for the part that sounds straight out of a science fiction movie,
And-
leveraging technology for seamless collaboration.
Oh, yeah.
How is tech actually bridging the gap when you're talking about, like, different continents, time zones, all that?
Okay, so picture this. You've got teams all over the world, right? Different time zones, different languages.
Mhm.
Tech becomes your lifeline. This book talks about project management software that keeps everyone on the same page,
Yeah,
communication platforms where you can have real-time conversations,
right.
and translation tools. Don't even get me started. Those are lifesavers, especially when you're dealing with technical terms, industry jargon.
Oh, yeah. Got to make sure everyone's speaking the same language even when they're not.
Exactly.
And it's not a one-time thing, right?
Oh, no.
The book talks about maintaining and growing the relationship.
It's a constant thing. It's like a garden,
You got to tend to it.
You got to tend to it.
Keep it healthy.
Regular communication is key, not just about work stuff,
Right.
but like, how are things going, Checking in on a human level.
Because you're dealing with humans at the end of the day.
Exactly. And this book also talks about being open to exploring new ways to work together as the partnership, grows and changes.
Yeah, because things change.
They always do.
Speaking of change, let's talk about challenges.
Oh, boy.
Because no plan survives contact with the enemy, right?
Ever.
The book has a whole section on overcoming common challenges.
Right.
What are some of those curveballs we should be ready for?
Well, time zones, for one, that's a classic, right?
Always.
So scheduling those calls, finding times that work for everyone.
It's an art form in itself.
Oh, it totally is. And you might think, oh, everyone speaks English. We're good. But
Yeah.
Nuances get lost in translation. Having access to professional translators, even for stuff that seems straightforward, can make a world of difference.
It's about those details.
Exactly. And then there's the whole legal and regulatory maze, which is different in every country.
Right.
That's where having a good lawyer on your team is worth their weight in gold. Seriously.
They'll save you a lot of headaches down the line.
Uh,
Now, the book ends with a case study,
oh, cool.
a successful international partnership. And it made me realize something.
What's that?
There's a lot to learn from people who've actually made this work.
Totally.
What's a takeaway from that case study that really resonated with you?
Well, they talked about this partnership between a tech startup and a huge global retailer.
Oh, yeah?
And what's interesting is their initial agreement, they had to completely redo it because the market shifted in ways they didn't expect.
Wow.
And it just shows you got to be flexible, build in that adaptability from the get-go.
Yeah. So as we wrap up our deep dive here, what are the key things to remember about these international brand partnerships?
Okay, so communication is huge.
Right.
You got to be on the same page, constantly talking. And planning, like really meticulous planning, especially when you're dealing with different cultures.
Mhm.
And those cultural differences, don't underestimate them. Really do your homework there.
It's about knowing what you bring to the table, finding that partner that's a good fit, and being ready to, roll with the punches.
100%.
Because things are going to come up.
Oh, they always do.
This has been awesome.
This was fun.
Really insightful. But it leaves me with a question.
Okay, shoot.
How do you stay true to your brand's identity when you're integrating with another brand, especially on a global scale?
That is the million-dollar question, isn't it?
It is.
Something to think about.
All right, so we're diving into brand integration on a global scale.
Yeah, global brand partnerships.
This stuff is tricky, right?
It really is.
I was thinking about it kind of like when you have your favorite smoothie recipe
Okay.
and you want to kind of add in a whole other flavor profile,
Right.
but you don't want it to just turn into this muddled mess.
Yeah, you want it to still taste good.
You want to taste both things,
Yeah.
but it needs to be good together.
You need the right ingredients
Exactly.
and in the right amounts.
Yeah.
Combined in the right way.
And looking at the stuff you sent over, it seems like you're dealing with this firsthand,
Yeah.
which is really, really cool.
Yeah, we're kind of in the thick of it right now.
Wow.
It's an interesting challenge, to say the least.
Yeah, because it's not just integrating another brand
Right.
into your brand,
Mm.
but doing it across different cultures,
Exactly.
different languages, all the
With
regulations.
totally different legal landscapes.
Oh my God.
Consumer perceptions.
You can't even make a misstep.
It's a minefield.
It's a total minefield.
You make one wrong move, and it's a PR nightmare.
And everyone's going to see it.
Globally, yeah.
So how do you even approach it?
Well, I think the first thing, and this might seem obvious,
Okay.
but you'd be surprised how often it's overlooked. You need a really clear strategic framework from the start.
Okay.
Day one.
Before you even do anything.
Absolutely. And that starts with really understanding your objectives for this integration.
Okay, so the why.
Yeah, why are you doing this?
What's the point?
Is it to increase market share?
Hmm.
Are you trying to reach new customer segments? What's the ultimate goal?
So you know your why.
Right.
Okay, but then how do you actually go about doing it without losing your own brand identity?
Yeah, you don't want to just become this Frankenstein brand.
Yeah, exactly.
Bits and pieces of each.
You got to be cohesive.
Exactly.
So how do you make it make sense?
This is where really thorough due diligence comes in.
Okay.
You need to understand the other brand inside and out.
Okay, so their values?
Yes, their values, their messaging, who their target audience is.
All the important stuff.
But most importantly, how all of that aligns or maybe clashes with your own brand.
That's so interesting because, like you were saying, you don't want to end up looking like a hypocrite.
Exactly.
Right.
If your whole brand is about sustainability,
Right.
and then you partner with a company known for fast fashion, consumers are going to see right through that.
Especially now, people are really aware of that kind of thing.
And particularly on a global stage where news travels so fast.
It's like the internet never forgets.
Right. Any misstep is amplified.
So it's not enough to just do your due diligence on the front end.
Yeah.
But you also have to think about how those values and that messaging will play out in different cultural contexts.
Exactly, because what might be seen as a positive brand attribute in one country could be perceived very differently in another.
Oh, absolutely. Can you give me an example of that?
Sure. So there was this global beverage company known for its really bold, kind of humorous advertising campaigns.
Yeah.
But when they entered certain Asian markets where marketing tends to be a lot more subtle and respectful,
Okay.
they actually toned down their usual style.
Wow, so they actually changed their whole approach for different regions.
Exactly. They recognized that a one-size-fits-all approach just wouldn't work.
That's such a good point.
It's almost like tailoring a suit.
Oh, I like that.
You have to adjust the fit for different markets.
So it sounds like the key takeaway here is that global brand integration isn't just about finding two brands that fit nicely together on paper.
Right.
It's about creating something new and valuable for your global audience.
Absolutely. And something that neither brand could achieve on its own.
That's the magic right there.
Exactly.
So we've covered a lot of ground, but if I had to summarize what we talked about, I'd say the key takeaways are having those super clear objectives from the get-go,
Yes.
doing your due diligence beyond just surface level stuff,
Absolutely.
and then understanding those global nuances.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
This has been so insightful.
It's been a pleasure.
I always love learning about this stuff,
Me too.
and I know our listeners are going to get a lot out of it.
I hope so.
I think something really interesting to think about after we finish here is how this kind of collaboration can not just bring two brands together,
Right.
but how it can actually push the boundaries of an entire industry
Absolutely.
or even create a whole new market space.
That's the dream.
That's the dream, right?
That's the real magic.
That's pretty cool.
It is.
Well, this has been fantastic.
Thanks for having me.
Always a pleasure, and we'll have to do this again sometime.
Sounds great.
All right, thanks again.
Thank you.